Today we're going to learn about composition, which is when you put one function into another function. Folks, I need you to quiet down. But before we do composition, on the top here, what we're going to do is not new. We're going to add functions, we're going to subtract functions, we're going to divide functions, okay? It's just the notation that looks weird. So when you see this, it just means add f and g. Add f and g. So look up here. Here's f. F is just 2. G is 8x plus 6. Oh, nope, it's 8x minus 6. I'm not even reading it right. And then when I combine like terms, I get negative 4 plus 8x. In problem 4, you see a dot. That means multiply. J times g. So j is 3x. And then g is 8x minus 6. Okay, notice it's j times g of x, not times x, so we don't bring an extra x down. Then you're going to distribute, so that gets me 24x squared, and then minus 18x. And that's it. All right, so take a moment, please, to do problems 2 and 3. So in this one, you should have subtracted j minus h. So 3x.
Wait, Ms. Brown?
Yes.
How do you know when to? You know how there's like the 4 things at the top? How do
Yeah.
you know which one to choose?
So they tell you right here. So that says j minus h. So then I look for the one that says j, right? And then I look for the one that says h. Now take a look at how you guys set it up, because I know some of you put the minus in there, but you forgot the parentheses. The parentheses are going to let us know to distribute. So this minus goes to both this and to this. So 3x minus negative makes plus 8x, and then minus 2. Yeah. Yeah. All right, this makes 11x, and then minus 2. All right, guys, ask questions on that one. Okay. In 3, it says g divided by f. So we look for g. And then we divide it by f, which is 2. Oops. There you go. G divided by f. Can we divide both 8x and 6 by 2? I think we can. 8x divided by 2 is 4x. Good. Minus what? Good. Yeah. Because I'm subtracting the whole function, so I have to subtract both parts of the function. All right, guys. Number 5 looks different. How? Yeah, it has a 2 instead of the x. You guys see that? So there's actually 2 different ways you can do this. You could put 2 into both functions and then subtract them. Or you could subtract the functions and then put in 2. I actually think the first way is slightly easier, but I'm going to do it the second way because it's going to practice the skill that we just had where we are subtracting the functions. Okay? So I'm going to subtract the functions and then I'm going to substitute 2. So G is this one. Minus H. Like that. Distribute your subtraction. and then combine like terms, and then remember we have one more step to do after that. So this time we said x is what number? 2, good. So we're going to substitute 2 for the x because of this 2 up here. So we'll do 16 times 2 minus 8. And we get 24. So it says g minus h. So I looked up here and found g, and I wrote that one. And then I subtracted h, which is this one. Because I have to remember to subtract both parts. So I want to put parentheses to remember to distribute that minus to both parts. All right, the last one's divide. And so I have j on the top, which is 3x. And I have f on the bottom, which is 2. All right, so 3 doesn't divide evenly by 2, so I can just leave that as 3x over 2. Or I could make it like 1.5x, that's fine too. But I'm going to just leave it like that. That's already simplified. All right, what questions do you have on the top? So the notation is weird. A lot of people keep throwing in an extra x because they think it means times x, but it doesn't. It just means x is your input. But we haven't actually done anything brand new yet. But next, we're going to do something brand new. We're going to put a function into another function. Okay? All right. Down here, when you see this, g of f of x, it means I'm putting function f into function g. So the way you do this is you start on the inside. You start by putting x into function f. You get a number out, and then you put that number into g, and then you get a number out of g. So it's like a two-step process. So we're going to try this one here, just looking at a table of values. Let me move it up. So the first thing we do is we put the negative 2 as your x value, and we find the g value. So on your x column, find negative 2, and then go over and find the g value. What is it? 7, yeah. So the answer to the first part is 7, but that's not the final answer. Okay, so the first thing that we did was g of negative 2, and we got 7. Now 7 is the input for the outside function, which is also g. We did function g 2 times. So now go back to where x is 7. And what's the g of 7 going to be? You guys see it over here? We get 3. That's your final answer. All right, in a minute you guys are going to do B. If you're ready to do B, do that now. If you want to hear about the first one again, I'll explain it again. You take negative 2 as your x value, and then you put that into function g, and it gives you out 7. So now 7 becomes the input. So you go back to where x is 7, and I'm going to put that one into function g again, because that's also the outside function. And I get out 3. I want you to try B. All right, let's go. So you put... Yes. Yes. You put 5 into f. Here's your 5. That's your x value. What did you get out from f? Yes, 5 is the right thing. See how 5 is the f value? Okay. So you get 5 out, and that goes now into g. So 5 is your input again, but this time we go to g, and your output is what? 0. Yeah. Bottom, and then after that we're going to take a short brain break because I need you guys to really process this. All right, f of g of x. We're putting function g into function f. f is our outside function, so that's what we're going to start with. And we're going to replace the x with a set of parentheses. So 3, replace the x with parentheses, minus 2. That's your outside function f. AB, do you have a pencil? Okay. Now, what we're going to put in for x is g of x. So we put g of x where the x was. Here. You good? Okay. Feel better. All right. G of x is x squared. So we replace g of x with x squared. And that's pretty much it. You can take the parentheses off if you want, but 3x squared minus 2 is simplified. That's it. But the hard thing is the setting it up. Let's look at the next one. The next one is f of x. So we're going to put function f into another copy of function f. My outside function is f, so it starts the same way. 3 parentheses minus 2. You're going to replace x with f of x. And then what am I going to replace f of x with? 3x minus 2. That's good. All right, so now I'm going to distribute and then combine like terms. So multiply the 3 times the 3x minus 2, and then combine your like terms. All right, and then Omega gets 9x minus 8. Anybody else get that?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Why did she put the 3x on the outside or just the 8, 3?
Why didn't I put the 3?
It's like 3, not like the inside is 3x, the outside is 3.
Oh, so I replaced the x with parentheses, and then in the parentheses, that's where I put the other function. So the x was replaced by those parentheses. All right, g of f of x. So this time my outside function is g. So this is my outside function. I replace the x with parentheses. Okay, so that's what I'm starting with. Replace the x with parentheses. Now I have to put function f in those parentheses. All right. Function f is 3x minus 2, so I'm going to write that. And when you square a binomial, what do you multiply it by? Good guess. By what, Amar? By itself, yeah. So you're going to multiply 3x minus 2 times 3x minus 2. All right, so then you have to distribute. If you like using a box, you could probably find space to make a box up here. I just distribute, so 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times negative 2 is a negative 6x. Negative 2 times 3x is a negative 6x. And negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And then in your very last step, you're going to combine your like terms in the middle. So I don't have a lot of space, but I'm going to make it work. 9x squared plus 12x plus 4. No, minus 12x plus negative 12x and then plus 4. All All right, so I know that's hard to read. I'm going to tell you what my final answer is one more time. 9x squared plus negative 12x or minus 12x, and then plus 4.
Okay.
All right. Which of our functions are represented in graphical form? So we have a parabola and we have a line. And we have two functions over here. Can you guys tell whether f is the parabola or the line? Look at the function. What about this function tells us if it's the parabola or the line?
It's the line. Because it's a quadratic formula.
All right, so Ahmed says this one is quadratic. You guys see that because the squared?
Oh, that means it's gonna be the other one.
That means it's going to be the parabola. All right, so let's label the parabola f. And let's label the line G. You guys ready? Label the line G and the parabola f so that we can evaluate these compositions. Okay, you start on the inside. You're going to put the 1 into function f. The 1 is your x. Put it into function f. The 1 is your x. Put it into function f. All right, so 1 is your x. So I go to where x is 1, and I have to go to function f, which was the parabola. So I go down to the parabola. And what's your y value? It's negative 5. So the first part of the answer is negative 5, but that's not the final answer. Then I have to put that answer into function g. So now my x is negative 5. So I go back to where x is negative 5. And I have to go to function g, which is the line. So I go all the way down to the line, and what's my y value there? Does it look like negative 9 to you guys? Okay. Okay, I'm going to do one more with you guys, and then I'm going to ask you guys to do the next one. Be ready. Negative 1 is your x, and you're going to look at function g. So here's negative 1, and when I go to function g, it's like just down there at negative 1.
No, over there on the right.
Sorry. So that answer then goes into f. So I need to do f of negative 1. My x is negative 1, but this time I have to go to function f, which was the parabola. So I go all the way down here, and what do I get? Negative 9, yeah. All right, so it's a two-part problem. You start by putting the x number into the inside function. Then you'll put that answer into the outside function. So do C and compare with your neighbor. All right, so we put 0 into function g. So here I am at 0, and at function g I hit 1. So that's my first answer. I have to put that into function f. Go to where x is 1, and you get y is negative 5. Notice it has g of f of x, so we can't really use the graph. We have to go back to using the functions. You start then with your outside function g and replace the x with parentheses. So I've got 2 parentheses plus 1. After. Then where the parentheses are, we're going to put f of x. And then f of x is that big function, so we have to replace f of x with all of this. So I have 2 parentheses x squared plus 2x minus 8, and then plus 1. And then distribute, and then combine like terms. And your like terms are here at the end. Osman, do you have a question? Okay, guys, so I canceled that question there because it was a totally different topic and I wanted to focus on this topic. We have one more section to go. All right, when you see this, it's another way of writing g of f of x, and it means exactly the same thing. Notice that the dot is an empty dot. That empty dot means g of f of x. When you see it like this, the last one, then what you're going to do is h of f of x like we just did. But when you see it with a number, the easiest thing to do is to put the number into the inside function and then take that answer and put it into the outside function. So if I put 4 into function f, I'm going to get f of 4 is 4 root 4. And what's the square root of 4? 2. Yeah, so it's 4 times 2, which gives me 8. That's the first part, but it's not my final answer because now I have to put 8 into what function? Yeah, so I already put 4 into f, so now I have to put the 8 into g. So then I do g of 8, and that's right here. I get 8 plus 3. So my final answer is 11. Okay, I want you to do part B real quick. You're putting 6 into g, so you do g of 6. And g is right here, so it's 6 plus 3, which is 9. Then I'm going to put that 9 into f. So f of 9. 4 root 9, 4 times 3, and you should get 12. Okay, do you guys have questions on A and B? Okay, for the last one, because it has an x, we have to use a slightly different process, and we have to think of it like we did this problem up here. So start with your outside function h, and replace the x with parentheses. So it's going to be parentheses squared. Put in function f. And then I'm going to square each part. So I square the 4 and I get 16. And what happens when you square the square root of x? Square and square root do what? They do, yeah. So that just gives me x.